Okay. Running here. Okay. Wonderful. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Robin. I'm one of the children's librarians here at George Hill Library. Miss Peggy's in the back, and I think Miss Elmarinda is still at the desk back there, so thank you so much for coming. We would like to just let you know that this program today is brought to you in part by the Rhode Island Council for Humanities. And so I'd like to introduce to you Running Deer. She's going to be introducing the rest of the program to you. So thank you so much for coming.
Well, hello. Thank you. That's nice of you. Well, my name's Pokanoket, and that means running deer. And I'm a Pokanoket Indian. These are my tribal members. We're all in the Pokanoket tribe. Our sacred land is right here in Bristol, right next door. Do you know where Mount Hope is? Okay, so that area is our most sacred area. We have the Massasoit seat. There's a big rock there where there was a lot of Indians would gather and have council. So we're happy to be here today with you. And we're going to start with our drum. This is our drum. We call the heartbeat of our tribe, the heartbeat of the Pokanoket. And we're going to show you the ceremony that we do before we use the drum, because the drum is very sacred to us. So we pray to our Creator before we beat the drum. So we'll just start, okay?
Before we open the drum, we do a ceremony. It's called smudging, and we use primarily a sage, and we put some cedar on it, perhaps some white rock, and tobacco, and perhaps a few other herbs. The sage is really quite soothing. It does kill certain bacteria. I'm going to pass a few of these around. You can smell it, and it's really very, very sweet. What it does is, okay, what we do, we put it in a shell like this. You can see the burnt marks here. What we do is, after we've added our sage and the tobacco, then we light it. We keep it fanned, we keep it just smoldering smoke, so that the smoke, we then cover our drum, our person, our body, and it's almost like a sauna, if you will, to us. It purifies us. Prior to us giving thanks to the Creator on our drum, the heartbeat, at which point you'll see us do some prayer with tobacco. Tobacco is very sacred in the indigenous tribes, and with this tobacco we're offering it to the Creator, who recognizes it. And in a little while I'll be telling you a story about this tobacco and why it became sacred to the natives. And then we place it on the drum in certain patterns, and then we pray on it with our left hands. And because we've just been smudged and we've just felt relaxed, our consciousness is open, even if it's just for a small spiritual second. Really all we need is then those prayers that we put on the drum with the tobacco will go to the Creator. And typically our hawks that fly in the lower level will bring it up as high as they can, and from there our eagle, which is our most sacred bird of prey, will take it the remaining way to the Creator. And perhaps there'll be, I don't think we have any eagle feathers, do we, Greywater? No. Okay. That's pretty much the ceremony and why we do it prior to opening the drum and playing the drum. Because the songs that we then pray are also going up to the Creator. So you've all had a sense to smell the sage. Very sweet. We're not going to light it up, obviously, but I know, it's okay. Dry smudge, you can do it.
I recognize the seeds.
We're gonna open the drum, and you see the drum is covered. Keep the drum covered
Yeah.
at all times when we're not playing it. Because the drum is very sacred to us. And it represents our tribe, like Deborah was saying, and we call it the heartbeat. It's the same beating rhythm that you feel your heart. Bump, 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 bump. We'll give you that heartbeat rhythm momentarily as soon as we open it.
Okay,
And we'll sing a few
oh,
songs.
and before, I just want to say, we've all been smudged, so we always get smudged as soon as we get together with the smudger, who, he's not here today, but our smudger will burn the sage and the herbs and tobacco and fan it on us with a fan like that. And everybody holds their arms out and you try to calm down and think of it, it's to be rid of any bad feelings. And they smudge our back and then we start, we've already done that out in the parking lot to all of ourselves because we would never go near the drum without first being cleansed. So
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dry smudge Rocher. She's a little late getting in. What dry smudging means is I'm not gonna light it. But what I'll do is, once I'm out of here, I will light it and have a brief ceremony. And see that her prayers also go to the Creator. So what you've just seen me do is I put some sage in here, put some cedar in there, I put some tobacco on it. Now normally we'd light this, and then she would stand in front of us, and there'd be smoke coming out. First thing I do is fan the top of her head. I always start in the center where her heart is, and I'll move each arm, and then down the leg, back up to the heart, down the other leg, back up and then she'll turn, I'll go over the head.
and while this is happening, Rocher would be praying, for peace. Or whatever she's thinking of, but in
When
general,
I'm
to
smudging, I
be calm.
tap her. Aho. Aho means,
So be it.
Agree, we agree.
Tabatne means thank you.
So, aho, we say that a lot. I agree kind of thing. A lot, thank you. So now the next thing is after we're smudged like that, we want to play the drum. We do go through a drum opening ceremony. So it's really a prayer to the Creator that we do. So each of us is going to hold tobacco. So we use tobacco not for smoking like people smoking cigarettes, because we don't really like that. But we use it in our ceremonies. It's a sacred thing to us. So this is what we do. And the men always sit at the drum. Women don't drum, the big drum. We stand around and sing, but we can have small drums that we play.
This would be a small drum.
these prayers we're doing can be personal, it could be for a friend of yours or for anybody who's sick or anything that you so desire. And, these prayers will go to the Creator via the sound of our drum.
We put the tobacco on the drum, and we're putting our prayers on the drum, and then when we beat the drum, we believe that the beats bring our prayers to the Creator. With every beat, the prayers go up. And the tobacco helps with all of that. set. Okay, so now that everyone has put a prayer with their tobacco on the drum, we can now drum, and we're hoping that all our prayers are going to go up to our Creator. So, what's the first song, Rick?
It'll be the song of thanks. It's a thank you song to the Creator. We're going to pray the drum in first. Prior to the singing, as soon as we're done praying the drum in, then we'll open the song.
Okay. So the women put their hand on the man's back, and the man puts his hand on the drum, and all our prayers of the women go through the men to the drum, and the drum to the Creator.
Creator, we thank you for this opportunity of gathering and an opportunity to further our culture through the people here today and the young ones. We hope that our teaching will give them a positive outlook and carry our torch forward. And, remember who the Pokanoket are. And we bless the tall one that made the wood for this drum and the four-legged that gave it the skin. And, Creator, we wish that we do well here today and children enjoy this presentation from the Pokanoket tribe.
Okay, we're going to play a song. And this is, usually we don't do this. I don't think we've ever done this in front of anyone.
No,
This is really the first time we've ever done this part in front of everyone, but we always do this. Maybe, if we're going to be somewhere like this, we would do it in the parking lot or something, but we always do this before we use it. Actually, this is the first time we ever did it in public.
normally we have all of this done and we just come in and
drum.
start playing for you. But there's a lot involved in what we do before we play this drum.
The Friday would change and change the gun. The Friday would change and change was a fun. The Friday would change and was a change the gun. The time is the birthday, the time is the birthday. Hey, 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 oh. Thank you for the thank you for the water and the rock. Thank you for the trees just for today. Thank you, thank you. Hey, 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 oh. The body would change and praise the God. The body would change and praise God.
That's always our first song. What song do you want to do next?
Four winds.
Okay. And I should say, we'll probably move around a little bit. So, traditionally, women kind of dance modestly. Right? Ladies, it's just kind of looks like you're, like that's, it's not, like in more modern times there are like fancy dances and you might see that on TV and stuff, but like really, women were a lot more modest and they didn't really move a lot when they danced. The men, on the other hand, could be a little more flamboyant. So you'll see us just a little dancing around.
Typically, the men are pounding on Mother Earth, the earth, and the women, when they're dancing, their prayers are going up to Father Sky. And when the men dance, they're dancing to Mother Earth. So they're really banging on the ground. The women are gently just tapping, generally doing spiritual signs or signals with their hands or their shawl.
And I just want to show, like when we're dancing, women oftentimes, if we have a ring, say at a powwow, so there'll be 4 women in the ring standing at north, south, east, and west for some of the songs, and they are protecting the men while the men are dancing. And sometimes we sprinkle prayers. Yeah, and show them how we would go like this. You'd see us doing this, just standing there. We're sprinkling prayers so that the men, while they're dancing for the hunt or whatever it is, our prayers can help them to be successful. So if you see that, that's what's happening. Okay.
Owen.
thriving. So, the word Sagamore, he's the head of our tribe, and you probably heard of the word chief, like Indian chief. Okay, so Sagamore is the chief of chiefs. We have other chiefs in the tribe, but Sagamore is above all the chiefs. So, did you get a breath?
I made it. Okay.
You want to just talk a little bit about the tribe?
Sure.
And history?
All right. I'll give you a little bit of the history. My name is William Guy. My traditional name is Powwopi Nipok, which is Winds of Thunder in our language. I am the Sagamore of the Council 7 Royal House Pokanoket tribe of the Pokanoket Nation. So I'm not just the Sagamore of the tribe, I'm the Sagamore of the whole nation. All right. I'm also the Sagamore of the affiliated tribes of New England, and I am the superior chief of the
FANA, which is the Federation of Aboriginal Nations of America, in which capacity I represent 11 nations, about 6,000 Indians going down the coast, the eastern coast of the United States, from New England down to South Carolina. All right. I am the 10th generation great-grandson of the Massasoit Osamequin who welcomed the Pilgrims to this country. I am the 9th generation great-grandson of Poe Metacom. You know him historically as King Philip. I'm the 6th generation great-grandson of Simeon Simon. Simeon Simon was George Washington's hand-picked bodyguard. That is the great-grandson of King Philip or Poe Metacom, who are the same people. Simeon Simon is on the bicentennial point of the town of Griswold, Connecticut. Him and George Washington. There's a portrait of him in the Griswold Town Hall. That's the portrait is in the Griswold Town Hall. This is my great-grandfather, Simeon. That's Metacomet, great-grandson. You have to forgive me, I've been rushing at it.
Yeah, Metacomet, like you've probably seen the road, Metacomet, and Massasoit, and King Philip, all these are our ancestors.
But that portrait there is in the Griswold Town Hall. That was originally in the New London Town Hall, and then my family had it moved back to the town of Griswold, which is where Simeon was from. When the English came to this country, they were welcomed by an Indian. He was a Sagamore. Actually, he was from the Abenaki Nation, which was part of Massachusetts at that time. Today, that's Maine, but there was no Maine in the time of the Massasoit. It was all the state of Massachusetts. And he welcomed the English to the shore by saying, "Welcome, Englishmen." And they were surprised to have someone here speaking their language. And then he informed them that there were one other native here that spoke even better English than he did, and that he would go and get him. And you probably heard of Presquantum, they call him Squanto. He went and got Squanto and the Massasoit. And Massasoit, a lot of people think that's his name, that's a title. Massasoit means great leader. And he was the great leader of the largest Indian nation in colonial America. There was no nation larger than ours. There were over 60 tribes, bands, and clans in our nation. The tribe itself, we had over 3,000 warriors in the Pokanoket tribe.
60
tribes? Wow.
60 tribes, bands, and clans. We were the largest nation in colonial America. There was no nation larger than us. Today, you know that nation as a Wampanoag nation. But in the time of the Massasoit, he never heard of the word Wampanoag. That was a term that came around during the King Philip War. And the English tried to expunge the name of Pokanoket from the dictionary, because King Philip, or Poe Metacom, had burnt 15 towns to the ground in the King Philip War, and that's when they started calling us Wampanoag. And of course, if you were a male 14 years of age or older, and you said you were Pokanoket, they could put you to death. And so I won't go into a lot of this because I got all these kids here. But that's the history. That's when they started calling us Wampanoag. So when you talk about these tribes around here, the Asanic Wampanoag, the Namaskan Wampanoag, they were all known as Pokanoket at that time, sign of the Massasoit. He never heard of the term. As a matter of fact, during the first 50 years of encounters with the European, there's no written word Wampanoag in any of their records. It was never spoken. And so, like I said, under penalty of death, you didn't say you were Pokanoket. All right.
Who's going to take a seat? We're going to say a song and I need to talk again.
All right, okay.
Okay?
I'll have a seat.
What do you want to play?
How you doing, guys?
We're gonna get a little.
Dance with me?
I'm going to tell you a little story of our ancestors. Many, many, many moons ago. That's a long, long time. There was a brother and sister who lived with their grandmother. They did everything together. They played together, they learned together, they helped the grandmother, and things went on well for a long time. One day, the brother and sister had a fight, an argument, and they got so mad at each other that they turned their backs on each other. And the boy walked into the woods, the forest, and the girl walked into the fields. The boy walked a long, long, long time. And as he was walking, he started thinking of all the fun he had with his sister and how much he missed her. And maybe he shouldn't have been so mad. Maybe he overreacted a little bit. And so he got down and he prayed to the Creator, to God. And he said, I really want to see my sister again, but I'm lost in this forest. Can you help me get back home? And the Creator turned him around and helped him find himself out of the woods. Meanwhile, his sister, who had walked into a long, long field, field after field, she started missing her brother and thinking, maybe I overreacted. Maybe I was a little bit too hasty in getting so mad at him. I miss him and I want to be with him. And so she got down and she prayed to the Creator, to God. And she said, I miss my brother and I want to go back to him. And I would like to have something to give him to show him how sorry I am. And when she looked down, there were these berries all over the place. And so she picked up the berries and she put them in her dress. And she picked up as many as she could, and she started walking, following the little voice of the Creator. And she met up with her brother. And when she met up with her brother, she said, I am so sorry. Will you forgive me? And he said, I am sorry. Will you forgive me? And she handed him all the strawberries. And he took the strawberries and he said, here, you have some too. And ever since then, in the spring, we have the strawberry Thanksgiving and forgiveness. And in that, we each give each other strawberries and we forgive each other for all the things that, go on in life. And then we have a big feast and we drink strawberry lemonade and we have strawberry scones and all kinds of strawberry desserts and strawberries in the salad. And that's a day of forgiveness and getting along with everybody. And that is the story of the strawberry feast.
What happens if you eat that strawberry without asking forgiveness from your brother?
It'll be a very sour strawberry. You might not like it. You can choke on it. You can choke on it. So it's really a good thing to clean your heart and be forgiving. All right, thank you.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Thank you.
We actually have a strawberry Thanksgiving every year in the end of June up on Mount Hope. So it's quite a big event for us.
It is.
We dance and sing and we do the strawberry story and we have a strawberry song and we do eat strawberry desserts and and everybody brings other food. So we still have that in our culture. Right, Sagamore? So, do you want to talk more? Or do you
I'll
want
talk
to
some
hear
more,
a
but I
song?
won't get too much into the history because of the
Okay,
kids.
yeah. They're little.
You know, who were the first people to come to these shores here, recorded people? You know who the first recorded people were to come to these shores? Was it the Pilgrims? No. The first recorded expedition to these lands in Pokanoket realm was by a Portuguese captain named Miguel Cordeiro. That was in 1502. That's recorded. The Vikings came here even before that. But then in the year 1524, Giovanni Verrazzano came here. And he was right parallel to the seat of the Pokanoket nation. We know this because in his log he recorded a latitude of 41 degree 40 north. All right? And he said about our people, he was observing the natives there, and he said, they're the goodliest people I've ever seen. And this, I've never heard of the word goodliest, but that was recorded in his log. Because they were always, our people were always praising the Creator. They always had their hands lifted to the sky and praising the Creator. And so that was 100 years before the Pilgrims got here. Like almost 100 years, what, 1620 when the Pilgrims got here? Did you put that in school yet? Yeah, okay. You know, and we had, you know, I'm a Sagamore, and we had chiefs in our nation. Do you know we had lady chiefs in our nation? This was the last chief before me. It's Princess Raywing. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember Princess Raywing, but she was the chief before me. I am the first male chief of the Pokanoket tribe from Philip's line since Philip was killed. Because we didn't have male chiefs because no one was coming up before saying they were Pokanoket. Even in my mother's time, in Red Wing's time, she never said that she was Pokanoket because that law was on the books until the year 2000. Somewhere around the year 2000, they could kill you. So you didn't say you were Pokanoket. All right. So this is my mother's first cousin. In order to be a chief, head chief in Pokanoket, you have to come from Philip's line. I have chiefs in my tribe that are from Amy's line. That's King Philip's sister. From Quanaquina's line, that is the Massasoit's brother. From Anawan's line, that was the Massasoit's brother-in-law because he was married to the Massasoit's sister, and that's my line from my father's side. My mother's side comes from Philip. So even Anawan, after they killed King Philip, he couldn't become the head of that nation. That's why he gave the belts to the Benjamin Church, and that's how they ended up in England, because he couldn't become the chief head man in that tribe because he was married to royalty, but he was not from the Massasoit's line. Right? And who else do I have in my tribe? I have Quanaquina's line. Quanaquina's line is the other one, the Massasoit's. And of course I have Masachim Pokanoket, which is my daughter. So we have a lot of women chiefs. And some of the women chiefs are more feared than the men. Oh yes, there was Weedamoo of the Pokanoket tribe. I don't know if you ever heard of Weedamoo. The Pokanoket tribe was right here in Tiverton, Rhode Island. And then there's also the chief out there in Little Compton, out your way. And she was called Hassan. She was a queen. And that was a Massasoit's cousin. The chiefs were all related. They, you know, chief's son married the chief's daughter, but most of the chiefs around here, they were related. And so when you talk about Pokanoket, everybody knows about the territory here in the Wampanoag area, which goes all the way down to the Cape, Martha's Vineyard Island, Elizabeth Island. These are all of the land of the Massasoit. They don't know how extensive our lands were. We went all the way up to New York State. We went up to Scotticook Fall, this side of the Hudson River, southern Vermont and southern New Hampshire. That's why when you go up to New Hampshire, to Mount Monadnock, you have the King Philip Trail, because it was our territory. And a lot of tribes don't know that. But they, you know, they'll talk about their history, or they'll try to. Well, anyway, the Massasoit was married to the Queen of the Nipmucs. That's who King Philip's mother was, one son, Amy, the other daughter. No one knows what the other daughter's name was. And then he had a son, Sakanuku, the youngest. So he had 5 kids. But we know that he had 2 daughters. And the historians say, well, they didn't know if he had another daughter. He had another daughter because she was on the Chautauqua. When they killed King Philip here at Mount Hope, Anawan escaped, and he was captured over here at Rehoboth, Anawan Rock. That's where my grandmother, my father's mother's people come from. The Seekonk tribe that's over there in Seekonk, it's the Elderkin clan. When the town of Seekonk incorporated in 1812, there were 3 Indian villages there. My grandmother was born in 1875, and she was still living in 1974. So she was almost 100 years old. And she, you know, told me with her mouth, her line, she came from Anawan. Her people came from Anawan. She always drilled this in my head, told my wife that. 50 5 years ago, she told my wife that we were married. That's how long I've been married, so I'm older than you think. And so, but the territories that went up there in the northern part of the state, North Brookfield, West Brookfield, this is where the Quabog Nipmunks are from. Well, the Massasoit's wife was Quabog Nipmunk, and the head of the Quabog Nipmunk Nation was her father, Nottawanha. And so the Nipmunk territories went all the way up to southern Vermont, but the Massasoit was the acknowledged leader of that nation also. Well, that's how our lands went, and all the way up to New York State. And during the King Philip War, that's when Connaught and King Philip were up there during the winter campaign. They were right up there at Skycook Falls, inside of the Hudson River. And so that's some more of the history. All of that territory belonged to the Massasoit. He was head of all that territory. As a matter of fact, when Warm Sutter fought Uncas in the year 1661, and Uncas was he wasn't well liked by the other Indians, I'll tell you, chiefs and whatnot. He made the statement that the Nipmunk belonged to me. I fought Uncas over them that summer, 1661, and this is when his father, the Massasoit, was sick, and he died that year. So that's just a little bit more history of our tribe. But I won't overindulge you with this history today.
Might be a little much for the children, but like he wants the adults to learn. If you have questions, just go ask him, right? Because we're gonna probably what we're gonna do is maybe play another song, and then we have some things we can have the children come and look at. Okay? And if you want to talk to our Sagamore, just please. Thank you. Like to show you, so if you want to come up here, just come up to the table here, and there's some other ones down here. Okay? Let's see. Everybody. Why?
I don't know how many of you have ever been down to downtown Providence. You see that mural that's painted on that building? That's Princess Beverly. That's my mother's.